right, here we go. Welcome to another week of Golf Subpar. Colt, Knost, Drew, Stoltz. Sleaze, what a week for us. We got 2 wins in 1 week. We got Billy Ho winning the WGC match play, and our man Joel Damon getting his first ever PGA Tour win down in the Dominican.
Special record-setting week here for Golf Subpar. I feel like we're kind of hopefully becoming like the reverse Madden curse. You go on Madden cover, you're going to have a dog shit season. Come on Subpar, maybe something good happens. But yeah, we got both of them back-to-back. Shout out to both those guys for getting big wins. Joel's was especially, I think, impactful for the both of us, really, because, I mean, I grew up playing the mini tours with that guy. I watched him go through every level, mini tour, Canada, Korn Ferry, now the PGA Tour. That was, I got a little bit emotional watching that one happen just because I know all he's been through with the health things and with his family and all that, too. Pretty cool to see him get that one done. I know he celebrated like a beast.
Yes, as he should have. Probably had a lot of Austin cocktails, if I was guessing.
He should.
But here's a guy, I mean, how crazy this game is. He missed 7 of 8 cuts coming into this week. With his only cut he made was at Pebble, I believe, and he finished T60. So 0 form going in.
0.
But that just shows you how good the guys on the PGA Tour are. They can figure it out at a matter of time and then go out and win a golf tournament. I mean, he's a guy I feel like he's, in our minds, probably one of the best players in that field. But with the form coming in, I don't know if anybody even looked at him. And there he is at the end of the week hoisting the trophy.
Yeah, it's like our survival pool. We go in every week. I'm trying to find guys that are playing good. I'm staying away from guys that are playing bad. But you just never know in golf. It takes 1 week, find something on the range, you just go into a week and feel good for whatever it was. But Joel had really no reason to believe that he was going to be the winner at the end of the week. And then sure enough, there he goes and he gets his first PGA Tour win. Also cool that like these opposite field events, they don't get all the pub. They don't get all the media attention. Clearly the World Golf Championship, the match play is going to get all that. But you get you almost always get the better stories. You get a first-time winner or a journeyman guy that's been out there for forever and finally peels one off or something. It changes their life. I know they don't get the Masters and all the majors and things like that, but 2-year exemption and all that stuff. First time to really take a breath for a lot of these guys that win for the first time and say, okay, my job is secure now for the next 2 years. That's a huge, huge deal in the world of golf, and just couldn't be happier for Joel.
Yep, it was a huge win for Billy Horschel in Austin. You know, gets his 6th PGA Tour win, moves up to 11th in the Ryder Cup standings. He's 17th in the world now. A guy that has got to be on Captain Stricker's radar now.
Yeah, without question. I mean, he moved up to 11th, and another guy, the guy he beat that day, Scotty Scheffler, another guy that's got to be drawing some attention. I mean, you look at his path through there. There's no easy path, period. But in one single day, I had to take on Ian Poulter, John Rahm, same day, 2 of the blue chips for the European team. I think Stricker was probably taking note of that. And he took every shot from Poulter. Poulter was doing what he does, holding in the long putts, going crazy and all that. And Scotty just took it in stride, gave it right back to him. And at the end of the day, Poulter posted that video on Instagram or whatever it was. Like, sometimes you just run into a brick wall. And that was Scotty. The championship match wasn't the golf, I know, the cowboy golf we all expected. But, dude, 7 rounds, everyone match play. You're living and dying by every shot. It was blowing 20-plus, gusting up to, mid-20s, high 20s. That's hard conditions for guys that are on their 7th match of the week. So golf wasn't the best, but that was a hell of a week. That match play is fun to watch, man.
I mean, who would have thought Scotty Scheffler would be in the finals?
Yeah, who could have predicted that?
Maybe me. We'll get to that here in a little bit, but we're not going to give away the complete results of what happened because we had a very special moment happen recently. We finally had the hockey bet.
Finally,
got it out there. Finally happened. We don't want to tell you all how it ended because I think the video is going to be unbelievable. Our team does an unbelievable job here. So I don't want to spoil too much of it, but just give me a little thoughts on how you think you performed on the ice this past week.
Yeah, our team's editing the video right now. A lot of footage. Can't wait to see what that looks like. But I'll tell you this, dude. I was legit nervous going into this thing. I was fully prepared. I knew going in. I knew what I got myself into. I didn't ever think the bet would happen, period. But now that it did, I have to man up. You got to get out there, get in the arena. I was prepared to make a complete ass of myself. And based on, we'll see how the video turns out. There's a good chance I did that. But I'll say this. I left it all on the ice, dude. I competed. I went out there. I did everything I could. I won't give away the results of everything. But I can hold my head high at the end of this thing. I gave it the old college try in that deal.
More nervous, Q school or getting on the ice for the first time?
The ice part was nervous. The skating around the rink part, I was nervous because, like, dude, I've never done it. And even if I catch on in, like, 10 minutes, it doesn't matter because if I bust my ass the first time around, I lose the bet, right? So I was nervous doing that. The peak nerves was when finally, after all these years of talking shit, I lined up however many yards away from Ray Whitney. I was staring at him, and I was like, what am I doing? He was standing there, no pads, no helmet.
He was not scared.
Could not have looked concerned. I was sitting there, I was like, what if I break my shoulder? I had 18 different strategies I'd contemplate. Do I dive at his knees, but then I could bust my face? Do I go high? He's going to level me. How low can I go without killing myself? A lot of things were in play there, but Dude, it was fun, like legitimately fun. I also completely underestimated how tired I would be after doing all that. I mean, I took the helmet off. By the way, the helmet, we had to try about 6 before one fit around my fat head. 2, every piece of gear I had smelled like the worst clothing you could. Like it had been just sitting in a trunk for a month after a sauna session. That helmet, the chin strap, kept sliding up my chin into my mouth. And I mean, it literally smelled like I had my nose inside of a butt. It was the worst smelling thing I'd ever smelled. I couldn't get it down because I had the cage in. I was like, dude, I'm breathing in butt air right now. How am I expected to hit some pucks with this going on? But dude, it was fun. It also took me 30 minutes to get dressed, and Ray pretty much dressed me the entire time.
Yeah, well, you did a hell of a job. The video is going to be awesome. I can't wait. Good news is you're here. I didn't have to find a new co-host.
That's the other thing. I'm alive, and I got all my faculties.
All right, well, let's get to this week's guest. We got our man, Tim Clark. You know, it's the week before Augusta. Here's a guy who finished runner-up at Augusta National, collected a few crystals around there for making some eagles. But Tim Clark, South African, President's Cup team member, one of the funniest dudes on the planet. Had a blast sitting down with him.
Fun to be with him, and also one of those guys, like, he's really, I feel like maybe like a Jeff Ogilvy or something like that. He's super thoughtful with his answer, right? He doesn't just give you the generic, oh, this or that, blah, blah, blah. He'll give you, like, legitimate what he's thinking, whether it's about his career, someone else's, a certain event, whatever it might be. So, dude, it's always fun sitting down with Timmy.
Timmy's the man. A man who did not over-practice in his career.
Respect.
I know you like that.
Respect.
You're a big guy. Tim was the guy that would come home Sunday night after tournaments, chill for a couple days, don't even bring his clubs, and then fly back Tuesday night, pro-am, tee it up, let's go.
I always wanted to be one of those guys. I was just never good enough to do it. To quote the great Kenny Powers, practice is the crutch of the talentless.
There you go.
That's practice for people with no talent. Timmy's got talent, so he didn't have to. I had to go out there and grind and still stunk.
All right, well, we don't need to say anything else. Here's Tim Clark on Golf Subpar.
All right, we have longtime PGA Tour veteran with us here today. He's the winner of the 2010 Players Championship, the 2014 Canadian Open, and 3-time member of the International President's Cup team. Timmy Clark, welcome to the show.
Thank you, boys.
Good to have you.
This has been a long time coming.
Well, exactly a year. I realize now I was maybe down here being Players Week and all, and it's been about a year since I spoke with you guys.
Yeah, you're on the. Well, we've talked since then, Timmy.
Well, of course
we had you on our Sirius XM Gravy in the Sleeves and gave some unbelievable insight into the Players Championship, which we will get into later. But we want to start at the beginning. Grew up in Durban, South Africa. Picked up a club when you were 3 years old, obviously, very, very early. At what age did you know golf was kind of Tim Clark's thing?
I mean, it was almost right away, to be honest. My brother, who was 5 years older, so I had that older sibling that I always wanted to try and beat. So even early on in those 3, 4, 5 years old in the yard with the plastic ball and the cut-down club, I could tell I was pretty competitive. But really, I think it was at 8, I was playing a junior event at my club and made a 1. And all of a sudden, I got in the newspaper and stuff like that, and I quite enjoyed that attention around the golf game, you know. So very early on, I was pretty hooked and playing almost every day of my life.
What made you wait all the way to the age of 3 to get started?
That's when we moved to the house in my little hometown, which happened to be on the golf course. So,
tell us about Durban. I want to know, like, what's Durban? How big is it? Is golf a big thing there? What's it like growing up there?
Well, I mean, I'm from a small town about 35, 40 minutes outside of Durban where, I don't know, we've got like 3,000 people and everyone in that town works. There's a big pulp and paper factory. So both my parents work there. All my friends' parents work there. So kind of a factory town, I guess, but on the ocean with a golf course, you know. So we were just very lucky growing up to have that opportunity to be able to play on a golf course that was really affordable and with great weather. You know, it was really great. And Durban itself seemed like such a huge town to me at that stage. It wasn't somewhere we went a lot. And later on in life, once I was 18 and allowed to hit the bars, there was always one trip a week back to Durban to see some of my golfer buddies that lived there and have a night out. So
that's awesome. Great laws.
What was your, do you remember, when was your first trip to the United States?
I was lucky enough to come in my final year in high school. They'd selected 2 junior players to come and play some junior events over here. And then part of that group, Rory Sabatini, came with us. So it was myself, a kid by the name of Titchmoor, and Rory. And we came over to play. Well, we didn't really know what was going on. Essentially, we were sent on our own with no chaperone. We were all 17 years old.
Perfect.
stuck on a flight and really didn't know what we were doing. But we played an event in Buffalo, New York, was our first event. We housed with a lovely family there, and I think it was a match play event, and was the most amazing thing because we grew up on the coast, Bermuda, get to Buffalo, New York, and it's just bent grass everywhere.
Yeah.
So you know Rory well enough. We get out there, and he was just so excited to pull out his sandwich and hit divots that are 3 feet long and spin the ball back off the green.
I was going to let you finish, and I was going to apologize that you had to hang out with Rory for so long, but whatever.
But he ended up winning the tournament. He won the thing. So after that, they flew us, or we had flights to Las Vegas, right?
Oh boy.
To play.
No chaperone.
To play in an AJGA event. They didn't even give us spots to the AJGA event. We all had to Monday qualify. So here we are, the 3 best junior players in South Africa didn't even get a spot in an AJGA event in Vegas. So we took a red eye, landed in Vegas at like, I don't know, 7 in the morning or 6 in the morning. Had to go and play the qualifier the same day. And unfortunately, I was the only one to qualify. The other 2 missed. And then that was our trip. The following week was the world junior world and we weren't allowed to play because we were South African. So we came all this way to play one event, to Monday qualify and head back.
How can you not play the World Juniors if it's the world?
Well, it was, we were banned at the time. So this was 92, it would have been. No, yeah. 93.
93.
So, yeah, I get it. I mean, that's what it was. But certainly to make us Monday qualify for an AJGA event is a little much.
You come over here for 2 events, and you go back, and then you come back for college. You went to North Carolina State.
Yeah.
You're playing in South Africa. I don't know how much exposure you got to college coaches. I'm guessing maybe they saw you in those 2 events.
Well, that was it. During those 2 events, I bought my resume of what I'd done and handed it out. And I do remember playing one of the rounds at that Vegas tournament. And I think Dwayne Knight was following.
Dwayne.
And
Coach Dwayne.
I had 18 pars. Never forget it. Had 18 pars. Needless to say, I never got a call from any coach about coming to play. And I always had wanted to. I mean, out of high school, I really wanted to. And I'd done a fair amount in South Africa. I'd made the South African junior team. I had been a runner-up in the South African amateur. Actually, when I was 16 years old, I was the runner-up in the stroke play and the match play. So that was 2 years before I even finished high school. And at the time, Manny Zerman, Gary Matthews was at Arizona.
The animal.
Then Rory, actually, after all that, got to Arizona. And I'd always hoped to come over, but it just didn't happen for me. So for the 2 years after high school, I just worked in the pro shop at my club and practiced and worked on my game.
So then how did the offer from North Carolina State come?
Yeah, it's a pretty random story too. So I'm at home, I'm playing, and I think at this point I had made the Eisenhower team, which is the world amateur team, and we went to Paris and played, and lucky enough to play with Tiger in one of my rounds, so that was a big deal. But I was back home playing in an amateur event in Durban at Durban Country Club, and playing with a kid by the name of Tony Matkovich. And I was just chatting to him and asked him what he'd been doing for the last year. And he's like, well, I'm playing college golf at NC State. So I said, man, I've always wished I could have come over and played. And we chatted a bit and didn't think much of it. So his dad is a famous golf course designer in South Africa. He's designed a bunch of golf courses there. And his best friend was Simon Hobday, who was a long-time European tour player and Champions Tour player over here. So he came over to watch Simon play at the US Senior at Pinehurst, and which Simon Hobday ended up actually winning. During that trip, he spoke to the coach at NC State and said, listen, there's a kid in South Africa who would love the opportunity to come play in the States. I think he would make your team. You should maybe give him a call. And that's really what started it.
Dang. So if you don't get that pairing, maybe that never happens.
Never happens.
Because is there enough stuff you can play in South? It sounds like you were doing it all, but can you do enough to get noticed from like U.S. coaches in South Africa? Kind
of, because of what some of the other guys had done. You had Manny Zerman, you had Warren Scooter, who went to UNLV, who, Manny went to two US amateur finals. Warren was an NCAA champion. So they could really see if they had looked at what I'd done, they could have seen that I was good enough. But for some reason, you know, I would have definitely needed a full ride to come. So, you know, who knows why that was. But yeah, it just didn't happen at the time. And luckily I got the opportunity when I did.
Yeah, you said you always wanted to come over here and play, but still, I imagine it's got to be kind of tough packing all your stuff up and be like, okay, I'm out of here. I'm going to the United States.
Oh, I also got a couple letters after that trip when I was in high school that I could come and try out for the team. You know, that's a little bit of an expense for a kid in South Africa. He needs a full ride. So.
Yeah. Exactly. So NC State offers you. If it had been, did you know anything about NC State other than you had buddies that went there? Or would you have gone to any school?
I would have gone anywhere. I would have gone anywhere given the chance, for sure. But yeah, Coach Sykes called me up. I think it was sometime in October. You know, and I was just quite shocked by the call. I had no idea that Mr. Matkovich was going to do this for me. And Coach Sykes said, listen, I've got a spot has opened up for the spring semester. If you want to come, it's there. I mean, now I'd been out of high school for 2 years. So
you're going to be an old freshman.
I'm like, I got to get the SATs done and all that. And, you know, so I ran around, got all that done. That was pretty easy. Then we had to convince the school that I'd taken science in high school. So
how do you convince someone that you took it in high school?
Because I didn't exactly take a science. I took home economics, so we said no, that's science, and that's a science. You know, boiling an egg is pretty tough. So yeah, that went through, and bought my ticket on Christmas Day. I left South Africa on Christmas Day because that's the cheapest flight. Oh. And when I landed in Raleigh, it was snowing, and I'd never seen snow before.
Wow!
Hello. Welcome to America.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you had a really good college career. You're, ACC Player of the Year. You go on. You win the 1997 USGA Public Links, which gets you into the Masters.
Yeah.
I mean, do we have any good amateur stories about you being at Augusta National?
Well, that was obviously a lot of fun. But just getting back to the day I landed in Raleigh in the snow, Coach had never seen me play before. So the first thing he did after a 30-hour flight in the snow, he took me to hit balls.
Perfect.
He wanted to see what I had.
You already signed. What's he going to do?
He was just curious, I guess. He was impressed, yeah.
Oh, so after 30 hours, you still had it.
But he was shocked that I had iron covers on my irons because, you know, in South Africa, you get a set of irons, so those things need to last you forever, right? So there I had these iron covers. He's like, I'd never seen these before. And if I had, it's on a player that can't break 80. So so he was quite happy to see me hit a few down the fairway. But, yeah, Augusta... quite a femy good stories from that week, for sure.
Well, we love good stories.
Were you up in the nest?
I was in the nest. I was able to, with some of the tickets that I got, get rid of the tickets, and the people bought my parents a flight over to watch. So that was the first time my father had been out of Africa. He had never left Africa. He'd been in Zimbabwe and around Africa, but that was the first time he ever left the continent of Africa, and it was the only time.
Augusta, the first spot.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Had my brother caddy for me, and he was at the time living in Northern Ireland. So I was lucky enough to be able to get the whole family there, and all the people at NC State rallied around. They had a place to stay. A family called the Cashins, whose son was on the team with me when I first got there. They happened to live in Augusta, so my brother and parents got to stay with him. And yeah, I stayed up in the old crow's nest.
Any notable pairings? How'd you play?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is the most nervous I was all week was on the first tee of my practice round. Because, you know, playing in college, you might have 5-10 spectators max, right? I get in the first tee in my practice round on Monday with Gary Player, and all I see is people, and I'm like, you know, you get the old shakes to get the ball on the tee, and I'm thinking, God, don't kill someone. But once that was done, the rest of the tournament, actually, I was kind of dreading it for a few weeks, and, you know, I had some college events going into there, and all I could think about is, what's going to happen to me at Augusta? Am I going to just like flip out? I don't know why I was thinking that way, you know, but you're just thinking, man, what's going to happen? And once I got through that practice round, then it actually became quite enjoyable. I didn't play my best golf, but it's still to this day probably the best experience I've had on a golf course over any win or anything else that I've ever done. Those few days playing as an amateur is the greatest time I've had.
Did you know Gary Player at all going into that when you got paired with him?
You know,
or for the practice round?
We had no.
That's got to be cool.
The interesting story that which I told him is he used to do exhibitions around South Africa. And when I was about 6 years old or 7 years old, he played in the town where I went to high school, a little golf course. And on one of the holes, he hit it in the bush. And I was the smallest guy there. And I was the only one able to get in there and retrieve his ball for him. So I reminded him about that. And I still have a card from that day that he signed. But other than that, no, I'd not met him or, and...
oh my God, I can't imagine.
That's like the dude from here playing with Tiger. And, like, I assume he was the guy that you kind of looked up to as a kid. Yeah, and we were even paired for the first round, I believe.
You were paired with Gary the first?
Yeah, I don't know if it was I think it was just the first round. It was the first round. They repaired after the first day back then, and he actually made the cut. I think he was like 64 years old, and he made the cut that year.
That's wild.
Yeah,
I didn't know they repaired either after the first day.
They did. I didn't realize that either. I remember
the year. I believe Faldo only played with Tiger in '97 the first day.
Yeah,
one day.
Because my second round I played with Craig Stadler and Scott Simpson.
Oh, there you go.
And that was another one of the greatest moments of my life. Me and my brother would watch Augusta at 2, 3 in the morning when it was on.
Yeah.
Our parents didn't mind. So Craig Stadler was always a favorite of ours, and he always played well there. If you ever remember in the 80s and that, there's always the same guys in the leaderboard. Craig Stadler, Tom Kite, Norman, so I get to play with him on Friday, and I think he misses like an 8-footer on the first for birdie, and the next thing we get to the 9th hole, and he's like 4 or 5 under par, and me and my brother just looking at each other like, wow, I mean, how's this guy?
Yeah.
And he's got about a 4-footer for birdie at Augusta, and that on that green, the crowd is right on the green. I mean, everyone's very close. And he misses the putt, right? And he takes his putter and he hits the ground and he puts like a putter mark in the ground.
Oh boy.
So now we're like, oh, my brother, we look at each other and we think, oh, he's gonna go fix that, right? Then he takes the putter and hits it the other way and puts like an X in the green.
That doesn't sound like Craig.
And now we're like, and now we're just thinking, oh my God, did you see that? So anyway, he taps in, he fixes it up, and he goes up to the 10th tee, and there they've still had the water cooler with this cone cups, that come out.
Yeah.
And he rips a cup out, but like 50 cups come out, and they're blowing all over the tee box. And eventually he just kind of looks at us and he smiles.
This isn't my best moment, guys.
No, but he kind of was having fun. He looked at us and he smiled, and you could see he thought it was pretty funny, and
when you're a past champ, you can do that.
Yeah. And then this is something that stuck with me too. Walking down that fairway, I asked him, how much do you play and practice anymore? He says, I don't practice at all. And I guess I took that to heart.
I was going to say, that's the Tim Clark. We'll get to that in a second.
I actually believe that.
Yeah, that's the way you live. I mean, it's awesome. But you turn pro later on that year in '98. You get out on the tour 2001. I mean, pretty quickly. You had success on the now Korn Ferry Tour. But you went through a long stretch where you were the best player to never get a win. You made the most money of anybody on the PGA Tour before you got a win, before you finally broke through at the Players. But before that, how much did not winning weigh on you? And did you ever get tired of being like, obviously the media being like, Tim, are you ever going to get this first win? Yeah,
it was tough. I mean, when I came out, listen, your first year out, all you're trying to do is keep your card, right? Unfortunately for me, my very first year, I blew out my wrist surgery. So in Hawaii, so literally one of my first events. So my first real year on tour was under medical. So you don't know when you're getting in tournaments. Yeah. It was difficult. And I barely kept my card, right? So that was a win to me. At that point, I wasn't thinking about winning tournaments. I mean, I'm just trying to get my feet wet. And but then each year after that, it got easier and easier. And even early on, my second, third year, I felt like I had the game to win, and listen, sometimes you have close calls and you throw tournaments away. Sometimes you just get beat. And that just seemed to be what was happening with me. Through all that, I was able to win a few European events, which I hardly ever played over there, but I won a couple South African Opens when I was at home in December on time off. I would play. And then, I won the Scottish Open 1 year prior to the British Open. which is a big event in Europe, and had, you know, Phil and Ernie and Retief and all the Darren Clark, Lee West, they were all in that field. So there was a big tournament. So, you know, it wasn't like I'd not won at all. At least I'd won somewhere else as a pro. But certainly on tour, I got to a point where I'm like, well, this just might not happen. You know, 9 years deep.
8 seconds.
You know, and a few health things along the way. You're thinking, gee, you know, is this going to happen? And even that year of the Players, I think I'd had a second earlier on in that year. I think maybe Palm Springs or somewhere. But I knew I was getting close. I was working the right things. It had nothing to do with my game. It was all up in my head. You know, it was all trying not to think about that win. And finally at the Players, it all just clicked, you know.
Yeah, and you like people point to that 2010 Players as like your first win, but like you said, you'd won all over the world prior to that. So it wasn't like you didn't know how to close. You just hadn't done it on the PGA Tour yet. When you finally did it at the Players, was there something like that you'd learn, like you can put your finger on, that you learned over the time of being close so many times, or was it just a matter of like, hey, that Sunday it all just went my way?
No, I learned quite a bit. I mean, because I was struggling with my game going into the Players, and when I struggled, I didn't hit the range. I just put the clubs away.
Respect.
So 2 weeks, I had 2 weeks off. I didn't do much. And then that weekend before the Players, I went to the range, and just a minor little thing in my golf swing, I raised my hands up, felt good. Funny enough, the Monday of the Players, I did a fundraiser in Raleigh at NC State. It just happened to be the day of their fundraiser. I was not playing great. I'm like, I'll just go there for the Monday. You know, next day, flew to the Players, played 9 holes. Played 9 holes on Wednesday, just so my caddy could hit the shot on the par 3. But my game actually felt really good. I knew I'd found something because I was hitting great, and I even found something with a putter. So, but it was more just the attitude. That Sunday, I tried not to think about winning. I really tried to stay in, because I was playing well. I tried not to think any further ahead of that. I said, you know, your routines are good, you're swinging good. Just stay focused on what you can do, which was just that, you know, and that's what happened. That putt on 18. I mean, I just felt ready to make that putt. Whereas early on in the year in Palm Springs, I had a same length putt to make a playoff, and I hit a horrible putt. But that time, I just didn't let the moment get the better of me, really.
Well, let's talk about, obviously, that weekend. You shoot 66, 67 to get the job done by 1 over Robert Allenby, I believe. But let's talk about, because you've told us a great story about when you got to 17 on Sunday, which obviously everyone knows the island green at Sawgrass can do some funny things to your body. Take us through that walk from 16 green over to 17 when you're in contention to win the Players.
Yeah, I mean, the whole time you're doing that, you're trying not to look at the green. You're just trying to, like, and I even watched Greg Norman talk about this the other day. You know, you're just looking in front of you, trying to get one foot in front of the other, right? But eventually you're going to get to the tee and you can't avoid it anymore, right? So
you can't say someone else come hit that for me.
Skip or pass.
So I could tell I was nervous. I mean, I could tell I was nervous. And so I started to really talk it out with Steve Underwood, my caddy. You know, yardage. I probably asked him 5 times what the number was, you know. And then I pulled 9 on, and I probably asked him 4 times, is this the right club? Is this the right club? But then it hit me when I tried to tee the ball up. I was like, oh, man. Like my head felt heavy. I felt like I had like a giant bobblehead or something, like I was going to fall over, right? So I get it in the ground, and I look back to the green, and I'm like, well, I'm not sure what needs to move first to get the swing going, right?
It's always a good feeling.
Is it my hands? Do I start it with my hips? How do I normally do this? You know? So standing over the ball, and I'm still feeling a little bit like this. I'm like, what? I just remember saying, you've probably hit, you know, however many 1,009 irons. You're probably one of the best players inside 150 yards on tour. Just trust that whatever you do is going to work. Like, don't think anything else. I mean, if I had a swing thought, you might
still be there.
Yeah.
So I just throw up. That's the swing thought.
Once I got the club, I just swung. I just started to move the body, and it was one of those swings I don't remember that swing. Cannot tell you how far I took it back, what happened. I've seen the video, and it actually looked like a normal swing and a normal shot, but it was like an out-of-body experience, right? And it kind of went where I aimed, just left of the flag, and yeah, it worked out. But then fast forward to 18, which really is a extremely tough tee shot. I mean, under easy conditions, not with anything on the line, it's a nerve-wracking tee shot because you go left, you got problems. And I think because of the experience I'd had on 17, the one on 18 was just slow motion. I was going to hit it up the right side with the driver. I figured if I'd done this before at the Colonial. 18 needed a party win, took a 3-wood, hit in the rough. So I wasn't going to make that mistake. Yeah. I mean, I drive the ball straight, hit the driver. I hit the driver everywhere.
What you do.
So I pulled the driver, and I knew I wasn't going to bail right. I said, I have to hit this down the fit. If I go right, I'm making bogey. I'm going to lose. I'm like, it's not an option. I'd rather hit in the water than hit in the right rough, actually, at that point. Mm-hmm. And so I'd committed to hitting it down the right side of the fairway, get over the tee shot, take the club back, and it was literally slow motion. I got the club to the top, and I'm like, man, I feel really good. I know exactly what's going on. Because 17 was such an outer body, this was the most, like, I don't know if you want to call it a zen swing I ever had, but I decided at the top, I'm going to just draw this thing down there. Dropped it on the inside, and it was into the breeze. My 106 swing speed at the time. And I hit it 300 plus yards into the breeze on 18.
Adrenaline's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
You made an 8-footer for par
to
get the job done.
Yeah.
I mean, more nervous over the 8-footer or on 17?
Oh, no, way more on 17. No, that 17 prepared me for 18. The fact that it was so brutal on 17 and I was able to perform, it just totally relaxed me for 18.
18 felt like a reprieve.
Yeah, it was like...
Which is strange because it's still one of the hardest closing holes.
Yeah.
But I guess
but for
to 17,
for some reason, it had done something in my head just to completely calm me down and get me out of thinking about winning. And I could just go back to the routines that I was doing for the whole week, starting on Thursday.
When you watch it now, do you watch these guys that are leading on 17 and being like, I know exactly what's going on? Because I don't care who you are, whatever you've done in golf, you get to that tee shot with a lead at the Players, you're going to be pissing down your leg a little bit.
Well, I'm just amazed, knowing what I experienced and went through, that you haven't seen way worse shots than what you have. If a guy has missed it, it's only just. A lot of times it's a ball hit the green and bounce over. Sergio hit what he thought was a good shot in 13 against Tiger, and it came up like a foot short, But I'm like, it's quite easy to chunk this thing 50 yards into the water.
Hit that tree over there.
Right. Hit the pipe. I mean, I don't know. So I'm amazed that most guys still hit pretty good shots there.
It's really
Do you club it down on that tee knowing that like your juice has got to be going as much as it's ever been going before? It's got to be a hard hole to club down. Yeah, if you club down and be like, because people do it. I've talked to guys that do the same thing on 16 at Phoenix. Like, dude, everyone's so fired up. All the caddies say take one club less.
Yeah, I mean, because you hit it so much further.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
you do.
Talk about your drive.
But I'm trying to think my number, but it was just a perfect 9-iron for me. So I couldn't go away from that. I had to just make sure that I didn't really try and kill it.
It's hard to rely on adrenaline there because if you think it's okay, I'm going to play for it here, but yet if it's not there, then I come up short and there's water there. Phoenix, it's like, oh, I might get booed, but no big deal.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, obviously you got your first PGA Tour win there. But did you know about some of the other stuff that happened for the first time that week?
Nope.
Well, for the first time in tournament history at the Players, a spectator was arrested and forcibly removed from the course. Do you know about this?
No.
Yeah. An intoxicated fan who was screaming and being disruptive refused to listen to course officials, who then they called the cops. The man resisted arrest and ended up being tased. Also, I believe it was Saturday night, so 2 people drove a car onto the 8th green. And also, Tim Clark got his first PGA Tour win, among those other things. What a tournament!
It was a big misunderstanding.
It was.
It was a wrong turn.
Yep.
MapQuest.
Unbelievable. You got your win and someone got tased.
Yeah, at least I didn't hit a tire mark on 8 then.
Yeah, they said the green wasn't damaged, which I don't understand how the hell that happened.
You don't see these things when you're teeing off at 2:22 in the afternoon.
They fix that
This stuff happens in the morning. Yeah, when you're
and those greens are pretty hard. They were pretty much like tarmac anyway. So
is that a place that you wish almost every week on the PGA Tour could be like, just because it sets up so well for a guy like you?
I guess, yeah. I mean, it is one of those courses that doesn't particularly favor the bomber all the time. It wasn't always my favorite place to play. I mean, until I won there, I really hadn't played very well there. But then we had the date change, and that week the course played firm. Yeah. So being on top of my game in firm conditions is always an advantage.
Ideal.
If you're hitting your spots, which I did that week, I hit a lot of fairways, and then my iron game was literally on point. I mean, I could hit my spots, and that's what you have to do in the firm conditions. So there were other courses that I tended to play a lot better on like your Colonials, even Hawaii.
Yeah.
I used to play really well, but that was similar to home with the Bermuda and the wind and everything. But yeah, the players, it is great because it's a huge championship that kind of can reward everybody.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit because you're a guy that clearly did it with his accuracy, with his iron play and things like that. Now all the rage is going to distance, and you see him Bryson doing it. It constantly comes up ball rollback, club rollback, things like that. What's your take on all this? Do you like where the game is? Do you think anything needs to happen, or are you cool with what you're seeing?
You know, I feel like it might be too late to roll it back. I wish something had been done 20 years ago when all of a sudden they could tell the ball was starting to go a lot further. You know, and it's around 99, 2000 when that kind of happened. And we all could tell. I mean, we all went to that equipment that picked you up that other 15, 20 yards. I mean, it was dramatic.
It's a big difference. Yeah.
Since then, it's gradually gotten better, I guess. And obviously, we could talk about the athletes. They are getting better. But listen, the equipment has made a huge difference. So I don't know if you can roll it back, unfortunately. Maybe they're going to have to. If everyone gets that strong and big, maybe they have to. But if you look historically, every great player or number one player in the world has been the best driver in the world. You go back to Jack Nicklaus, longest driver at the time and very straight. Norman, long and straight. Tiger, especially Tiger 99, 2000, 01. Not any, I mean, he was crazy long
all these guys.
and straight. Listen, then he maybe lost his accuracy a little after that, but everything else was so good he could stay number one for another 15 years. Then you've got Rory long, Dustin long, Brooks long. You know, these guys, Justin Thomas long. So guys that are going to win multiple times and dominate for periods of time are all going to be long hitters. It's always been that way.
We were talking about Bryson on the way over here and like what he did at Bay Hill, like number 6, where he's cutting the corner, and you're like, well, you know, he has to hit it on the button. If he misses it, he's going to be short in the water. So
yeah.
It's still impressive what he does at the speeds he's doing it as.
Yeah, I mean, if everyone could do it, they would be, right?
Exactly.
So it's not easy to do. The one thing I would have liked to have seen is the driver not being so big and so easy to hit. Like the driver has turned everyone into a pretty good driver. Whereas in the days of Greg and Jack, it was hard to hit a driver. I mean, a wooden club was small. So the guy that could hit it hard and on the button had a ridiculous advantage. Right now, it's just somewhat of an advantage because of the distance they hit, because everyone can hit a driver.
Yeah. A miss hit was magnified.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I more so than doing anything with the ball, I would rather see them do something with the head of the driver. Make it smaller, maybe different material. I don't know, but make it harder to hit the driver, because it's easy now to go as hard as you want and still hit a sweet spot. Because the sweet spot's huge.
Yeah, or at least de-incentivize guys to swing as hard as they possibly can, knowing if I hit this off the toe or the hill, like it's all designed to still go. There's not as much penalty for misfits. And still,
your guy like Bryson is still going to be the longest hitter because he's got the fastest swing speed and he's working out. I mean, you're not taking that advantage away from the guy. The longest hitters are still going to be the longest hitters, but
100%.
You're just going to make it more challenging for the field to swing it that hard. And then what happens? You bring all these golf courses back into play. Listen, it is exciting to watch him hit it over the water there, right? You want to see what happens.
Yeah, of course.
But I think that's always going to be there at some element. I mean, that was there when Nicklaus was playing, you know, driving par fours, or even Arnold Palmer at Cherry Hills when he drove it on. He drove in a par four in the first hole of a US Open, you know?
I think if people just start having 57 yards into a par 5, it just might get a little ridiculous. that could be a little tough. You're gonna have to change that to a par 4.
Listen, John Daly tried it. He made a 13 when he tried.
18.
Or 18.
18.
Sorry.
That's an 8. I mean,
18, no big deal.
Could have been a 17. Quick. Would you do anything with like the course setup? Do you think that if this is the big argument, guys are hitting it too far, course setup wise, how do you rein it back?
Listen, I
is
mean,
there anything you can do?
Those guys that set up the courses have been doing it a long time. They know what they're doing. But the one thing that bugged me when I played is when you'd go to a golf course where the course was its tightest between 250 and 280. And then it would open up to a runway.
Or the bunkers end at 280. And it's
which happened.
Yeah.
I don't want to name courses and that, but there was courses like that where it was just very frustrating because we had to hit it up this narrow little alleyway, whereas the long guy, the guy that could carry it 300, had no trouble. So we were just getting eaten up in courses like that. So if you are going to narrow it up, we'll narrow it up further down the hole.
Agreed.
I mean, listen, these guys, a long hitter's always going to have an advantage. I mean, listen, I would rather be in the rough with a sandwich than back in the fairway with a hybrid all day. But that's not my game.
You're pretty damn good with the hybrid.
So I've got to make sure that I'm in the fairway, but yeah, you've got to maybe tighten up those areas further down the golf course. Growing the rough, does that really help? I mean, Bryson went around Wingfoot and drive and
everyone was missing those fairways. I think if you shrink it up where the longest guys hit it and open it up a little bit where the normal guys hit it, there's all of a sudden maybe you can level the playing field.
And I'm not even saying make it narrower where they're hitting it. Just make it the same. Don't let it widen up and get easier the closer you get to the green. It needs to get harder.
I totally agree with you, Tim. I like that. Let's make it narrow up there.
Shrink it all. Shrink it all.
But we got to get to something that I know is a highlight of your career, and that's the President's Cup. I mean, you played on 3 different teams. You were the Bulldog. First off, I didn't realize you played on 3 different teams, and you never sat out a match.
Yeah.
You played all 15, and you were part of one of the most historical President's Cups, where over in South Africa, it was actually ended in a tie. That week had to have been unreal for you, playing at home, and then having Tiger and Ernie battle it out in a playoff to see who got the job done. What was that like?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I mean, probably next to my Masters experience as an amateur, that would probably rank second as a whole week and an experience. But my first match, Ernie is always very good with taking in the rookies under his wing and playing with them. And obviously I wasn't the youngest on the team. Adam was on the team. I think he was 19 at the time. But yeah, Ernie said, listen, I'll play with Tim in the first round. So we play Tiger and Charles Howell.
Perfect. Here we go.
And on the first tee, you're meeting the presidents and every, it's quite a thing. But again, I enjoyed those stages, like especially like a match play. It really got me fired up. And also knowing that I had a partner like Ernie playing Tiger, it just got me geared up to play. And first hole, I can't remember. It was a best ball. I hit the flag on the first hole with a 9-iron to like this. We make birdie. The third hole, I hit it like 3 feet. And then about the 5th or 6th hole, I hit the flag again and played unbelievable. And we won the match like 5-4.
Yeah.
And Ernie, was full of praises, which was nice. Because at the time, Ernie's a hero of mine. He's won several majors already. And to think that I'm in that position playing with him in a tournament like that, after really only being on tour for about a year or so, it was just a huge thrill.
And you performed at an unbelievable level. Yeah.
Especially against Tiger. But take us to when Ernie and Tiger start to go into the playoff. I mean, that has to be probably the most immense pressure when one guy is representing, one, the international, and B, America. And what's the atmosphere like as both teams, you're sitting there watching these guys, knowing like the cup lays in just each of these guys' hands?
Yeah, I mean, there's not one other player on the team that wanted to be in that situation.
Yeah,
I mean,
Exactly.
Who wants to play? Not me, Ernie.
I mean, we were watching it. I mean, I felt bad. I was almost sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
Watching them go at it. Tiger was probably loving it. I don't know about Ernie, but you know what? He performed.
He looked like he was loving it.
But it was like almost sickening. It didn't seem fair, right? Because whoever lost it, I mean, what a burden, and it was getting dark. I mean, it was really dark, and they finished on that par 3. And Tiger, I mean, he made a putt you cannot make. And I mean, the amount of times he did that, but that was the most difficult putt I think I've ever seen him make. It broke 2 ways, down, side hill, dark. I mean, incredible. And then Ernie had to get up and make like a 6-footer or so
in the dark,
straight uphill.
Yeah.
I mean, which is just as hard because now it's a straight putt with everything on the line. So I'm glad it ended the way it ended because it wouldn't have been fair on anybody for it to.
And to come out the next morning and be like, all right, we're going to do it again.
No.
And one of these guys is going to end up losing the cup for their team. Like that's just too much for one guy.
It made no sense. So I remember like when that putt went in, we all like huddled around Jack and Gary, and one of the officials says, well, if it ends like this, the US is going to keep the cup. Gary's like, no, we will play.
We will play.
Bullshit. Yeah.
So I think in the end, like they just kind of mutually agreed. Okay, we're gonna share the cup.
Yeah, but being
That's
a
probably
veteran,
the fair way.
Being a veteran of those teams, I mean, the President's Cup has been a little lopsided over the years, obviously with the USA. But I mean, last year down in Australia, it was a very, very close battle. But if you were in charge, is there anything you would change to to like maybe make it just a little bit more competitive?
Well, for years, I mean, the guys have been trying to get it just back to the same format that they play in the Ryder Cup. You know, there's less matches, so you can sit guys, and you know, when you have a deep team, which America always has, you can play everybody. You know, and sometimes with the European team or the international team, you know, you need to sit guys. It's just the depth just isn't quite there. And even in years when we on paper had a better team, you know, there was a couple of years there where we had VJ, Ernie, Retief, Mike Weir was playing good. Angel Cabrera had been winning majors. I mean, but still, at the end, you had guys like me. You know, I wasn't as good as the 12th guy from the America. I mean, you know, 12th guy in America is in the top 20 in the world. You know, and I would have been 50, 60 in the world. So, yeah, I think if they just maybe went on the point schedule of the Ryder Cup, it would make it more competitive.
And that makes total sense for in the President's Cup for the international side, being that America is so deep, and like you said, our 12th guy might be in the top 20. I actually contend that I like the President's Cup format better for a Ryder Cup, being like, all right, you got all your guys, let's play them all, and also you get to you're the captain of the Europeans. You put out a guy, I put out a guy. It seems like we get the better matchups and the matchups we want to see more in a President's Cup than we do a Ryder Cup, where you just have to guess, like, all right, what do we think? Are they going to front load it or back load it, or what are they going to do?
I agree with you on that. How
I love that about the President's Cup.
If we have the honor, we pick a team and then you match it, and then you throw a team, because then you get the big one, like especially on the singles on Sunday. Like you want Rory playing Patrick Reed or Rory playing Tiger, stuff like that in the Ryder Cup. I would love to see something like that.
There's good strategy in how you can pair against certain pairs, but then you've got to also look at the strategy in the Ryder Cup, like how those guys can sit players, and there's a lot of strategy involved there too. And you know, I just don't know if it would be as exciting the Ryder Cup if it was to change. I mean, obviously it's created so much theatre over the years, the way it is. I mean, you would never change that, right? But you would maybe look at changing the President's Cup.
I love, the President's Cup maybe change it. But I love the way that you put out a team. All right, we'll match you, as opposed to like, all right, give us your card, you give us your card.
And that kind of does make sense. Yeah, I don't know why they don't do that in the Ryder Cup.
And it's great for TV too, when they go in there and everybody's sitting around talking with Ogilvy about it, and he's like, oh yeah, dude, we sit down and we do our thing.
But
we do our
then
due
it's
diligence.
kind of like a game of poker with them, you know? It's like, well, are you going to bluff with a guy out first? So, I mean, there's a lot, there's still a lot going on. Even though you can't match up a pairing with another pairing, it's your strategy before you even go into that room as to how you're going to
are they going to front load? All right, then we'll front load. Are they going to back load? We'll back.
And you don't know until the end. So, I mean, I think that kind of makes that intriguing too in the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, in the Ryder, I just feel like you see Tiger playing, like when Tiger in his heyday, playing some guy that like isn't, might be the 10th guy on the European team. You're like, man, I would love to see him play Rory or Lee Westwood at the time or something like that.
It's happened. I mean, if you've looked at, I wasn't at the President's Cup in Canada, but Tiger played Mike.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Harding Park, which I was at, Wai Yang had just beaten Tiger earlier that year in the PGA. Well, Tiger played Wai, and that's where he got his winning point for the team. So, I mean, you certainly can make for more interesting matchups that way, but the Ryder Cup, the strategy of it all is pretty fun.
That Tiger Mike Weir matchup like changed the course of Canadian golf for some guys. We have some of the young guys on our radio show. I think they're like, dude, that match was one of the reasons Mike Weir doing that was one of the reasons I got into golf. Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Harding Park President's Cup. You had the chance to play against Anthony Kim in a match.
Did I? I don't even remember.
See, that's the problem.
Tell us everything.
You don't even know. Tell everything. I wanted to get your thoughts on Anthony Kim because we both say like arguably one of the best we've ever played with, other than Tiger. Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, if you don't remember, you don't have much thought on Anthony Kim.
I played a few
what stands out about that day, Tim? No.
What day? I mean, who was his partner?
I don't remember. I just saw you played Anthony Kim, and I wanted to know your thoughts. But never mind now. Just delete
and that was the year that he supposedly came in sideways at 2 a.m.
That was
and
Drew
then went
Stoltz
out
saying
for the
that. I have no idea what
individuals.
you're talking about.
Well, that's just the story. I'm just
because
reporting
I do remember
news.
playing Phil that week.
I can tell you who it was.
I played with VJ, and we. No.
Keep talking. I'll tell you exactly who you played.
I got a question about the President's Cup while we look all this up. Tell me about the after the matches end, right? Like in the Ryder Cups, I've been told like the U.S. and the Europeans will come together and party and stuff like that. Do you do that in the President's Cup, like afterwards? Do you guys all hang out together and get after it a bit?
Yeah, typically in the President's Cup, win or lose, which has mostly been lose over the last few years. We always got together and had a good night, enjoyed it. And every now and then some of the American guys might come over, but you know, obviously when we're there, we want to win. I mean, it's always the goal, especially when you've had so many years of coming close and not doing it. But yeah, come the end of it, we all able to let our hair down and enjoy it.
Who's the MVP of post game parties in your 3-year member of the International Presidents Cup team? Don't be afraid to say you. If it's you, say you.
Get jiggy with it over here.
Yeah,
you get jiggy with it.
I mean, we've had some good ones. I mean, I'll tell you, one, it was during the tournament, and it wasn't a wild party, but we were getting beaten pretty handily in South Africa through a couple of days. And Ernie had a barbecue at a braai, as we would call it, at his house on, I think it was a Friday night. And we didn't party crazy, but, you know, we just all got together, bride, had a little bit of wine, relaxed, and the next day we went out and we swept the Americans. And then we heard the story that night they'd all been homesick. I mean, they'd been out of America for 3 days. I mean, and they all wanted to go to
homesick.
They missed McDonald's.
Oh, Africa is so scary. So they all went to McDonald's.
Oh shit! I just made that.
They
up.
did.
There you go.
And the next day after they got swept, I heard from one of the guys that Jack was so mad. He's like, "You guys want to go out and eat like you're gonna play like, you know?" So yeah, they got chewed out for that.
No more McDonald's. Jack said no mas. That's wild.
Well, to answer your question about the Anthony Kim, you played him with you played against Anthony Kim and Phil Mickelson on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
With
What happened in
It's
the
all
match?
ringing a bell now. I can see it coming
you
back.
and Mike Weir, you lost 3-2.
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
Can't believe you couldn't overpower Kim. Yeah, of course you don't. But I mean, I'm sure that's got to be just unbelievable to be in, you know, team atmosphere when you're such an individual sport. It's got to be a lot of fun. But we could talk about that all day. But we got to get to the E9 at some point.
We might as well hit it. You know what I mean?
I don't know
You
if
wanna do a
this,
little
Tim.
E9? You got time to
I know
cruise?
I know you're a big fan of the show. You watch.
Yeah.
It's huge.
All right, before we get to the Emergency 9 with our man Tim Clark, we got to tell you about Austin Cocktails. Sleaze, we both like to get amongst it, and these things are delicious. 12.5% ABV, which means
Alcohol by volume.
exactly.
No big deal.
Yeah, all those other seltzers, you know, they got 5%, 7%. This 12.5, you can get amongst it. Tastes like a true cocktail, not a lightweight seltzer, and because I like it, low carb, low calorie.
Yeah, dude, it's friendly on the fitness. You know what I mean? A lot of good things come in small packages, Colt. You know what I'm talking about. So don't be fooled by the size. These things pack a punch. Perfect for the golf course.
Perfect for the golf course.
Perfect for sitting at home and getting amongst it. Whatever you want to do, these things are spectacular. And like you said, not a little lightweight seltzer. It's not one of these watered-down drinks you get at the golf course. These things bring some noise.
Yep, perfect to celebrate a PGA Tour win with.
Correct.
All right, well, go check them out. Austin Cocktails. Here's Tim Clark in the Emergency 9. So we got the Emergency 9 questions to get to know you even a little better. And we ask this to all of our guests.
Okay.
This is the most important question. There's a movie being made about the life of Tim Clark. You can pick any actor, dead or alive. Who's it going to be?
Oh my.
To play you.
Yeah, there's not many that good looking, bud.
Man, that's a tough one.
Don't go in front.
Rob Schneider.
Rob Schneider. Wow. Okay. The water boy?
Yeah. He's about my size.
What did he say in that movie? What was his little line in the Waterboy movie when he popped up?
You can do it.
Yeah, you can do it. There you go. All
That's
right.
fair.
Rob Schneider. I wouldn't have guessed that. I said Leo actually for you because he's the only guy I know that can do an accent like where you're from in Blood Diamond when he did it. I thought that was fantastic.
Well,
he was pretty
I
good.
went with little smaller guys. I had Joe Pesci and Danny DeVito for another reason, which we'll get to here in a little bit.
Well, I mean, Rob Schneider's like 5'5".
Yeah, he's not the biggest
They're
dude.
all small.
He's not the biggest dude. All right, we'll go
And
to
he's
the
got a
next
good
one.
sense of humor. So
Yeah.
So you do have a great sense of humor.
All right, next one. Name your big ping pong player. All right. Name the professional golfer who is your toughest competition on the ping pong table.
it's funny. I've been off the tour for 5 years now, but we're in Tampa. They had a table, and I'd never played Kuchar. I mean, I guess he's really good, but I had a game against Spieth, thinking, this kid, I should handle him, you know, and I figure he's thinking the same. He sees me there with my gut hanging out, and sweating and everything. But yeah, he handled me pretty easily. You know.
Spieth did.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was good.
I didn't know he had it like that. Kuchar's the name that gets brought up.
Yeah.
Have you played Freddie
Duffner's.
Jakobsen?
Yeah.
Yak is supposed to be. Doesn't Yak?
Oh yeah.
Doesn't
Listen,
he eat Kuchar?
my wife's got a good story. We play the World Cup in Portugal, and I'm playing with Trevor, and Yuck is playing with Henrik Stenson, and they had a little ping pong table down in the hotel. So one day we go down there, and there are these two in like white shorts, white shirts, and freaking team headbands,
Like Wimbledon.
playing ping pong. So I'm like, yeah, they must be pretty serious about it. But I've played Stenson, and he's very good too. I mean, yeah, he actually beat me too. We had a game in the Bahamas.
Duffner has the robot that hits it back and forth to you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
What's Yak do that's so good? Is he a spin guy? Is he a power guy? Why is he the best?
I think he just had always played. He's just, really
He just
good.
got it?
Yeah.
Golfers are good.
Yeah. And I mean, I didn't play as a kid. I mean, I only took it up probably 10, 12 years ago. But
You're nice.
It's a fun game, yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm better after a few wines, for sure. You know,
Yeah,
if I'm with a guy that's drinking with me, he's got no chance.
Fair. If you got to go drink for drink, and
I'll
then
play Matt
compete,
if we're going drink
you
for
could
drink.
Take Jordan drink for drink.
I like that.
See how it goes.
Well, I mentioned who would play you in a movie, Danny DeVito, basically because he was the Penguin in Batman. That's your nickname. I believe Sergio gave it to you.
Right.
Correct. Where would you rank your nickname, the Penguin, amongst the great golf nicknames? I mean, we've got the Golden Bear, the Walrus, the King. We got the Seagull,
Boom, boom.
Charlie Hoffman. Where would you rank the Penguin? Big Gravy. We got all kinds of things.
I mean, listen, it's not right up there because to have a great nickname, you've got to have had a great game and won a lot of big tournaments. But if you're looking at a nickname that epitomizes what someone looks like walking down the fairway, mine's pretty damn good.
That's why I think it's so great, is because, I mean, you resemble it so well. It's perfect.
The flightless bird.
I mean, the Walrus, perfect.
Seagull is great.
Seagull
it's
couldn't
very
be more
fitting.
perfect.
The penguin.
Which we'll get to him here in a little bit more, by the way.
Penguin is a good. That's
Penguin's
fitting.
perfect. You had a head cover.
I had the cover.
I like that.
As you should. That's when you know you've made it, when you got your own head cover. All right, next question. If you could have any job in the world other than professional golfer, what would you want to be?
Oh, man.
We get deep.
Yeah, that's a
We
tough-
get deep
I
on
mean,
this
listen,
show.
I remember as a kid had to do something in class. It was a Zulu class, believe it or not.
I don't know what that means.
Well, Zulu's.
How'd you do in Zulu at SMU, Colt?
No.
You didn't have that then? No.
In
So at a young age, we were learning Zulu at school, and I got up there. You had to. I don't know what we had to do, but I got up there and sang "I'm a Little Teapot" in Zulu.
Can you
Zulu?
What is Zulu?
Can you still do it?
Zulu's a language.
It's a language.
language.
It's a
Okay,
language.
gotcha.
Yeah,
It's
but
a
I didn't
language
know-
of Africa.
Yeah.
Shaka Zulu.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay,
You know
now
it.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
And it's the language that's in my area. So I decided I was going to sing "I'm a Little Teapot" in Zulu,
Okay.
but to Bruce Springsteen, "Born in the USA,"
Oh,
because that had just come out at that
a
time.
little melting pot.
So I'm there, and one of the girls, she must have been doing something on. She had all these bangles, and I said, "Listen, can I please borrow?" She had like an armful of bangles on her. So I get up there, and I sing "I'm a Little Teapot" in Zulu to Bruce Springsteen, and at the end, I take all these bangles and I just threw them around the class as if I was like, I don't know. I thought it was some sort of rock star. So
Do it.
I guess that's what I would like to have done if I
Can
was.
you give us a
Ask
little?
it. Ask it. Do you
No,
still
give us a little
remember?
verse?
Will not do
We've
that.
had a lot of people sing on this show.
No way
Give
you
us a little
don't still
something.
remember the words in Zulu.
No, I've forgotten.
All right, we'll do
Okay.
it off air. Just don't turn the camera
So
off.
do you speak Zulu?
I mean, I can, no, I'm not fluently. I understand words and can communicate.
What about
basics.
Afrikaans?
Afrikaans, we studied even more, so yes. But again, I'm not fluent, but
But you could get by.
I can understand when the guys are speaking in Afrikaans. I know what's going on.
Okay. All right. That's
Yeah,
good.
perfect.
Trilingual. Here we
Next
go. You're our
question.
first trilingual guest. All right. Next question. What's the one thing they have in South Africa that we don't have in the States that you miss the
I
most?
think you just skipped me, but whatever.
Did I just go twice?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. All right.
Well,
It happens.
when I first came, I mean, biltong is the first thing that will come to mind, which is South African version of beef jerky, where it's simply beef that's hung up to dry. It's not smoked or anything. But now you can get it here. I mean, there's even a little South African store here in town where I can
really?
go and get it now. So that would have been the biggest thing when I moved over that I missed, and really about the only thing I would say.
Yeah.
I've
It's
never
pretty
had
good
it.
over here.
Hmm.
All right, I mentioned earlier the Seagull, Charlie Hoffman. Do you enjoy taking money off him on the golf course more or in Mario Kart?
Well, unfortunately, we haven't played Mario in a long time.
I had some battles though back in the day.
Oh yeah, that was fun, and obviously he always blamed the internet at the time, for skipping, because he'd be sitting in San Diego and I'd be at home. And then when he came, during Phoenix Open, we'd play together, and most times he did beat me. So maybe there was something in his internet, but that was fun. Anytime you take money off Hoffman, it's the best day of your life.
Couldn't agree more. The seagull. Who did you play as Mario Kart? Who was your character?
Who's your guy?
I switched it up.
Okay.
Birdo.
That's who I was gonna pick for Hoffman. I was like, what's the only bird in Mario Kart?
That's funny.
Birdo. Yeah, he was a G.
I'll go ahead and ask my next one since you skipped me.
Yeah, you can figure it out.
All right. Other than Tiger, because he doesn't count, who was the most impressive player you ever played with on the PGA Tour?
Rory. Like, not even a question. And it was just one round. I mean, I didn't play with him much. I played, but the round that comes to mind is that first round at the British Open in, what was that, 10, I believe. 2010, I think. We paired the first round. He shot like 64 and hit shots. You play with Tiger, he hit shots, you're like, no one's got that. And I had that same thing playing with Rory. He hit a shot in 17, the pin's just over that bunker, which, for me, I'm coming in again with a long iron, and he's hit this drive over the hotel, and 165 or 170 yard 9-iron that's backed up to the hole, and I was just like,
threw it over the road hole bunker and said,
so
here we are.
And then I had the lovely fortune of playing him at the match play after I beat Tiger. That's who I got to face the next round.
Perfect.
Here's your reward.
And he took care of me pretty good. So.
That's awesome.
You're probably the answer if we asked that question to him. All right, next question. I'm back up again. All right, your house, the barn, as it's referred to, is burning down. You have time to save 1 bottle of wine, 1 bourbon, and 1 piece of golf memorabilia. What are you coming out of the house with?
The wine's an easy one. It's a Chateau Margaux that was given to me by Mr. Drew Brown, who was part of DMB that built Silverleaf. When I won the Players, he gave me that bottle of wine.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
And I'm just waiting. One day I'm going to drink it with him, so it's still there.
What kind of occasion do you have to have?
Yeah, I was about to say,
He just needs to come to grill, really. Yeah,
right,
nothing special.
Just for a little bry.
A little bry.
Bourbon. I've only been into the bourbon for a year now, and I've collected some good bottles. But right now, my absolute tastiest bottle that I have is Almaty 100-year anniversary.
I don't even know. They made 100-year-old bourbon.
It's it's not 100 years old. It's just the name they gave it. But anyway, that's the tastiest thing I have. And golf memorabilia, oh man.
This is where it gets tough, I feel like.
Unfortunately, it might not even be a golf memorabilia thing. I've got a signed soccer ball, as you will, by Nelson Mandela in my house.
Oh, shit.
So that would probably be... Unfortunately, all my things will burn down, but...
your player's trophy is toast, but you'll have the Mandela football.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't my next question, but because I know you're a huge meat griller guy. And to pair with that Chateau, what would you go with? I have a feeling it's going to be your lamb.
I like my lamb, but one of the best things I do now is skirt steak.
On the big green egg?
Nope. I've got the big old wood-fired guy there, the Bracero grill, which is the Argentinian style. And this all came to us. We used to play in Miami for the Durrell event, and there was a little Argentinian steakhouse there in the strip mall. And it was always the best meals of the year was in there. And I told all the South African guys about it. And before long, every night would be the same guys. And VJ was in there every night too. And Cabrera but simple skirt steak on a wood-fired grill with some chimichurri. Let
me tell you,
much better than that.
If Tim Clark ever invites you over to the barn for a meal, you go because the food is unbelievable.
I feel like you could start a bistro at your house for a little secondary business if you wanted.
Yeah, I enjoy cooking. I enjoy on the weekends, having people over. If there's sports on, we'll watch some sports. Get the 80s music pumping.
You love the 80s music.
Little T-pop.
Yeah.
Zulu.
Zulu. All right, last question. You mentioned earlier you stepped to the tee on 17 Sunday at TPC Sawgrass. You don't really remember much. But would you say you remember more about that tee shot or the night after you won?
No, I remember the night because we didn't actually get to do much.
That's very disappointing. I was hoping you really partied hard.
Because, I mean, you end up being at the club for like 2-3 hours afterwards. I mean, you're doing this, that. So by the time it was time to get out of there, I went to clean out my locker. My wife, Knost, was with me. And then we walked in. You walk through the locker room, and Lee Westwood was still in there. So I had a drink with Lee, who was, right there with a chance to win the tournament. It was very gracious of him, and had a drink with him. And then I think we were staying in the hotel across right there, the Marriott. So we went there, got changed, and then went straight across the street to the group of little restaurants down there and met up with some of the guys. But no, it was a pretty quiet night.
Very disappointing.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So you
That's cool. Lee to stick
more on
around like that,
17T.
though.
Yeah.
That's class.
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't purely just to see me and have a drink with me, but
He just wanted you to buy him a
But
drink.
maybe, yeah.
With your 1.7
but
million.
he, but he was in there, and we sat down. And I've always enjoyed him. I mean, and obviously to see him playing so well last week too was pretty fun.
Really cool.
He's
Well, this
doing
has
it.
been really cool for us, Tim.
Yes.
I really appreciate you sitting down with us.
No, thanks.
Thank you, Timmy.
You got it. All right, well, that was Tim Clark. Sleaze blast sitting down with him. It was so cool. I mean, he was a part of one of the greatest President's Cups ever.
Yeah, dude. I mean, probably the most memorable President's Cup, at least from my perspective. That's one of the things I wanted to get into him with him. I remember when Tiger and Ernie were going into that playoff, and I was like, can you imagine a more pressure-packed? I mean, Tiger clearly, both those guys can handle it, and they did handle it. They both made some massive putts in that thing. But playing for your whole, like the International's playing for the rest of the world, basically. Tiger playing for the entire U.S., and the Cup lives or dies on your performance on what could be one hole. I'm not a big fan of things ending in ties, but also that format was like, all right, it's getting too dark to even keep playing.
Yeah.
You don't want to come back the next day. And it's like, all right, should two guys really decide? I don't know, but it was one of the most pressure. I was glued to the television. That was an unbelievable President's Cup.
It wasn't. Here's a guy, I mean, I believe he played in 3 President's Cup, never sat out a match. I mean, he was the bulldog of the international team. Had a really good record. He's one of those guys that, I mean, I think just gets forgot about because he's not the flashiest of players. Doesn't hit it that far. Use the long putter. But he had a hell of a career. I mean, it's just unfortunate with all the injuries that he had.
Yeah, he was close to winning a bunch of them. And I mean, we know he won the Players. That's the pinnacle. But how impressive is it that a guy like Tim Clark, I mean, you've played a lot of golf with him. I played with him. You see how far he hits it. Doesn't move it very far at all, but he's precise with everything. But finishing a runner-up at Augusta, hitting the clubs that he had to be hitting into those par 4s, and like a number 1, he's probably in the middle of the hill. Guys are blowing it up top and things like that. You have to be so good with everything else in your bag, from driver to putter, to even sniff around that leaderboard. For him to finish second there, I honestly think that might be one of the most. Sawgrass is a place you could see him playing really well,
sure.
And he did. Augusta is not a place you would pick and be like, oh, Tim Clark will probably be good around there.
He was just one of those guys that I just don't think he cared what the venue was. He was going to go out and play his game. I mean, he finished second to Bubba Watson at the HSBC over in China. Absolutely hated the place. Didn't like it all. Hit 3-wood into the first hole, and he's like, why am I even here right now? Ends up, should have won. Bubba Watson robbed one from him. But he was a guy that just, whenever the moment got big, it seemed like he really, really showed up. I mean, he had 8 runner-up before he got his first PGA Tour win. Ended up with 2 PGA Tour wins total so far. I mean,
correct.
You never know. He could make a comeback, but the injuries have really slowed his career down, which is unfortunate. But had a blast sitting down talking with him.
Yeah, the injuries sidelined him, unfortunately, and also the putter, the long putter ban. That he's the guy that took the biggest hit on that, because he literally has the physical impairment where he really can't putt like a standard way. So that affected him more than anything, which is a tough thing when you've played your entire, basically since college on, with one style of putting, and they're like, oh, by the way, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah,
that's hard.
All
whether you like the rule or
Yep.
not.
Thanks to Tim Clark for sitting down with us. But Sleaze, it's time to get to the gambling portion. Somebody made a move last week. It was almost a really, really big. I mean, it was a big move.
It's still
but
a
it
massive,
was almost
massive
a
move.
really big move. Producer Mark, give us a little update on the one and done standings.
Yeah, so Sleaze, you had Patrick Cantlay last week at T18, good for $113,700. Meanwhile, Colt, Scotty Scheffler, started the event at 40-1 odds to win the whole thing, found himself in the championship on Sunday, and brought home with his second place finish $1,150,000. Good for a lead of $1,119,454.
Now we're going.
That's a tough one. When you eclipse the million mark, that's $1 million in
Yeah,
deficit.
but You pick a winner and I miss a cut, you're right back in it.
That's how this thing goes. I don't care if you miss 4 cuts in a row. You pick a winner or runner-up, especially to WGC. Like, things flip quickly. But just like normal, start off slow, coming out the gate slow. And also Cantlay, man, after 2 rounds, this is a hard one to pick, dude.
This is impossible.
I'll
be honest. I got so lucky. I was just like, here's a guy who's played the golf course a bunch. I think he's a really good player. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, that was a good pick because he played at UT. He's going to know this way around that place. And he's just a hell of a player. But I went through looking at every single pod. I was like, where's the easy one? There isn't one. So then I went with a guy that I probably won't pick for a major, but want him in the next big one. Cantlay, after 2 matches, I think he shot 9 under, 6 under in his first 2. I was like, I did it. I picked the guy that's probably playing the best golf on property right now. This is going to be great. Ends up losing to Hideki, losing a playoff, and then done for the rest of the week. It's a hard one to pick, but in hindsight, going with local guy, local knowledge, all that. Good one. I got my work cut out.
Yeah, you do. I mean, like you said, this week was so hard to pick. I mean, would you have been confident saying Justin Thomas isn't going to make it out of his pod? I mean, Scotty Scheffler's in a group with Xander Schauffele and Jason Day. Jason Day's a past champion. Xander Schauffele, one of the best players in the world. And I'm like, okay, I need someone to get out of the group.
You got to get him out of the group, and there's just not an easy one. Or Rory getting just dump trucked in round 1. Like, there's weird stuff happens when you put the top 64 players in the world and play 18 holes. So it's a hard one to get through.
Of course, I make a big move when it's all about luck. But now it's back to skill. You'll probably catch me.
Oof.
We got the Valero Texas Open. One of PJ National's kind of your nightmare. This TPC
you
San
got
Antonio.
Is this one you?
I wouldn't. Me and this place didn't get along too well.
This place is a monster. When the wind blows, like it always does.
If the wind blows, it is very, very difficult. But we got a really strong field. Dustin Johnson's in the field. Jordan Spieth. Everybody prepping for the Masters. So this is going to be an interesting week. I have the honor.
Your honor.
Since after the 7-figure payday by my man Scotty Scheffler. This week, Valero Texas Open, a golf course that really, really demands good ball striking, in my opinion. It's a tough driving golf course. Like you said, if the wind gets blowing, it's tough. We see a lot of the same guys play well here each year. One of those being Billy Horschel, the winner this past week.
You can afford to take a week off.
Yes.
After that payday.
For me this week, I'm going with a guy who's playing some of the best golf of his career. He's a veteran. He's made 10 straight cuts. He's got a 6th and a 4th in his career at TPC San Antonio. Like I said, some of the best golf of his career. I really like it. I'm going to stick with Team Randy Smith as well, the swing coach. I'm going to go with Ryan Palmer.
Ride the hot hand.
33-1.
I like that. I also think there's an art to playing, like a guy that lives in Texas, you're used to this type of wind. It's not abnormal to play in 25-mile-an-hour winds. You get some of the West Coast guys like you and I out here. If it blows more than 15, I'm like, nope, no golf for me.
Don't say you and I.
Okay, for me,
I'm fine with the wind.
If it blows more than 8, I'm out of there. But that's a good pick. He was on my very, very short list. I'm going to go with, I typically don't like to do this. I'm going to go with the defending champ. It was in 2019 the last time he won, but he's a 6 betting favorite, 22-1, Corey Connors. Okay?
Coming in. Him.
Love him. I like him for all the reasons you just said. You just said how hard the ball striking golf course it is. It is that. Corey Connors' tee to green is elite. Really, really good. Putter, sometimes it could use a little tweak here and there, but he's, like I said, he's a defending champ. Last 2 stroke play events, Arnold Palmer and the Players, 3rd and 7th. Top 10 in 4 of his last 8 events, and top 20 in 6 of his last 8. So TPC San Antonio, tough tee to green. I don't typically like picking defending champs, but this game suits it so well. If he can just have a little bit of a week on the greens, I think he'll at least have a good week.
This is a very important week as far as our bet is concerned, because you want to have the honor heading into Augusta.
Because we're gonna have there's 4 or 5 names. I mean, there's still some wiggle room there, but yeah, we're gonna be aligned on a lot of the guys you like going into Augusta. So even if it's a 35th versus a 40th, having the honor, big deal. Yeah, and our guest next week is gonna be one of the favorites at Augusta National. He's our first repeat guest on Golf Subpar. He's number 3 in the world. John Rahm will be joining us for a special Masters edition of Golf Subpar. Yes, Johnny Boy, the Spaniard, back in the building. Our first guest of all time. Over a year ago when we launched this thing, Johnny Rahm strolled in here, put on a clinic, actually rapped a little bit to Kendrick Lamar. Could tweak that up a little bit, maybe tighten that. But this is going to be fun talking with John the week before he goes out there. Got a baby on the way, a lot of stuff going on in his life. Johnny Rahm gets the honor of the first ever repeat guest on Subpar. All right. Well, later this week, we got a very special treat for everyone. Check out our YouTube page, our social media pages. We are going to be releasing the video of Sleaze on Ice. This is it. Could be up for an Oscar nod. Best documentary of the year. I'm looking forward to see it because I was so in the zone. You know, when I lock in. I got tunnel vision. I had the blinders on. I didn't see a lot was going on my periph, but it's going to be fun. I can't wait. It's gonna be a blast. I'm going to look like an idiot. Everyone go check it out, and we'll talk to you on next week's Golf Subpar.